What's up, everybody? This is Average Planeswalker, live from Japan. I'm not live. I am in Japan, so, um, yeah. Look at that. I got that Godzilla shirt. Anyway, whatever. Let's get to it. BNR, bannings and restricted, or in this case, just banning, happened today. Technically, because it's 30th, it happened yesterday. But anyway, um, we have 3 bannings out of like the 8 cards that were fake spoiled, which turned out to be 100% fake. And the person who made it actually made a post about it on Reddit. And he said that he wanted to bring to light the issues with the format. And he said the positive feedback that he got from that fake leak that he created was overwhelmingly positive. And for the majority of it, I was very happy with all 8 cards. I wouldn't have cared, to be honest. Do Would some of those have needed to be banned? No, but if it happened, oh well. You know, I'm a person that believes that, especially in the way the power creep is for standard right now, and again, I'm talking specifically only about standard. The way that power creep is these days, we need more bannings. We need them to pay attention to standard more because FNMs for standard are being replaced by EDH, by Commander. You know, there isn't any FNM standard games happening at LGSs as much anymore because people are not enjoying the meta when one deck, maybe 2 or 3 decks, completely take over the format. We used to have 5 to 7 different decks that you could choose from, or people like me, I love to brew, so I had different brews, and now I'm kind of pigeonholed into a specific type of brews that I make, and I can't really veer from that. Otherwise, it's just not the power of my brews just aren't there. But I'm a good control player, so I can make some good control decks. So I have to be very particular to what cards I put into the slots. So he went on to say that the LGSs aren't firing off like I'd mentioned, and which is very true. Even here in Japan, not FNM but standard doesn't fire off all the time. Pioneer, modern, and vintage and legacy, those fire off constantly. So I'm thinking about getting into modern again, and or possibly pioneer. But Pauper also fires off. I'm not a fan of Pauper, but I'm glad it's out there because a lot of my friends, excuse me, they love Pauper. So anyway, yeah, I'm for bannings. You know, uh, I think that if you're investing into standard as an investment for your cardboard, you're investing in the wrong format. So you shouldn't be looking at it from a monetary perspective. And if you stay current with standard sets as they come and just buy the singles you need, it's not as expensive as people think. The only reason why it's expensive is because you feel the need to buy box after box after box, maybe 2 to 4 boxes per set that comes out, and then a fat pack or something. You don't have to do that. Just buy the singles you want. I haven't bought a booster box in years. I just buy the singles that I need. I'll collect packs every once in a while. I go buy 4 or 5 packs here and there or something like that. But I'm not wasting a whole lot of money on buying boxes anymore. So, with that rant out of the way, let's get into the bannings that happened yesterday. I'm from the future. Um, so the first one we got is one that everybody was waiting for and expected, and that is Fable the Mirror Breaker and Reflection of Kiki-Jiki on the opposite side. So I don't have to explain anything about this card. Everybody knows how broken it is. Kamigawa, they pushed the crap out of cards for this set. And they succeeded 100% because all 3 bannings are from Kamigawa. It's the fact that Fable the Mirror Breaker for 3 mana and 1 pip of red, 2 in a red, can do so much and affect the board state at so much is why it's broken. Creating a 2/2 creature when it enters the battlefield, so you have an enchantment, you now have a creature you have to deal with, and then that creature can create a treasure, which can ramp you in colors that aren't meant to ramp. Then on chapter 2, you can discard up to 2 cards and then draw that many, putting creatures into your graveyard for reanimation triggers or whatever you want to do for that. And then on the third one, if you still happen to have that token, once you flip Kiki Jiki, you can start copying that token or a Bloodtith Harvester, you know. So, or was it Corpse Praiser? Corpse Praiser is another one. So the amount of power that is in the card is ridiculous. And I knew from jump that this was just broken when it came out. And I specifically don't play with it. Any of these three cards, I actually don't play with any of them. So my deck is completely safe from bans. The way I brew and I play is I see what the meta is and I try to play against it, build against it, and also I try to do my hardest to not play the cards that are mostly being played because I want my deck to be able to be as powerful as all the others without those. So when these bannings happen, my deck is still doing very well. Anyway, so Fabled Mirror Breaker banned. Next card that get banned is Reckoner Bankbuster. Now this has what was it? The copter from Kaladesh. Oh, Bob Saget, R.I.P. What was it? Smuggler's Copter. This has Smuggler's Copter written all over it again, and it's kind of just doing it all over again. You figured they would have learned, but then again, that Kaladesh was so many years ago that I'm sure the development team from there is not here, and I'm sure they weren't even thinking about that. But Bankbuster is reminiscent of Smuggler's Copter in the fact that it's a 2-drop artifact that can go in any deck. That's the problem. That's the issue with this card. If this card was a colorless and a pip, or even a pip, like whatever color you wanted it to be, then this wouldn't have as much of an effect on the format as it does. But the fact that it's 2 colorless and it's an artifact uh, is what makes it ridiculous. Excuse me. Now Bankbuster, I don't play Bankbuster because sometimes I don't see the value in it. Mostly because you play it on turn 2. If you have a turn 3, you don't want to play your turn 3 because you want to draw the card and then use your Bankbuster. So turn 3 comes around, and then you don't play your turn 3, but you activate your Bankbuster to draw a card, and now you're behind on that turn 3 play. Hopefully, you get the land to go turn 4. Maybe you play 2-drop, and then you have the 2 left over for Bankbuster. Like it's very inconsistent, personally. Um, but I'm not downplaying playability and the power of this card by any means. Um, I tried playing it a lot in a few decks when it first came out and everything. I just could not. I don't know, the inconsistency of it didn't fit to my play style, so I haven't been playing this card. Um, but with all that being said, I feel that Reckoner Bankbuster could have stayed. It's annoying to play against, but at the same time, I don't know. I think it's because it's one of the most played cards right after Breaker. Mirror Breaker is the reason why they wanted to, because they wanted to mix it with meta, and I can respect that. I'm glad they're doing that. So if this wouldn't have gotten banned, I wouldn't have been upset about it. So it being banned is just it's a plus. So let's go to the last card that was banned. And what is that? That is Invoke Despair. Finally. Oh my god, it took too long. Too long for this card to be banned. This card was I almost wanted, but personally, I'm gonna say it. Personally, this was the most broken card in Kamigawa. This easily was the most broken card in Kamigawa, even above Mirror Breaker. And don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying Mirror Breaker by any means, but I made an entire video dedicated to Invoke Despair. You can go check that out. I don't know, it'll be if I'll post something here, whatever. Just go check it out. And I went into so much detail as to why this card is broken. But the moment I saw this card, I knew out of all of the invokes, it was the best one, and it was going to see ridiculous play easily because of how much it does, and the fact that we had Triome lands from Streets of Capenna, like it. There was no reason why this card wasn't going to be broken and see play in almost any deck. The mana base that we have right now easily can play this card. There's like a lot of old heads, such as myself, if you aren't consistent with playing Magic in the last few years, you'll think that having 4 pit black means you can't play it in anything other than mono black because that's our mentality and our way of thinking from back in the day, because back in the day you couldn't do that. You couldn't play this card in like a 2 or 3 color deck. It just wasn't possible. It would just be in a mono black deck, or it just wouldn't be played at all. But seeing as how the way mana is nowadays, is easily slots into a 5 color deck. And if it can easily slot into a 5 color, it can easily slot into a 1, 2, 3, or 4. So this card was broken on jump. And like I said, I made a whole entire video about it, and I'm glad to see this going. I'm very much glad to see this going. So I don't have to worry about this anymore, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? That leaves us with uh, 2 decks that are going to move to the top tier, if not already. The first one being Esper Legend. Everybody is terrified of this deck, and they have every right to be. It's a very, 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 very powerful deck. I've beaten it a few times, and I've gotten stomped by it a few times. So there's some ups and downs with it for sure. But Esper Legends has everything it needs to take over the format. Do I see a problem with that? Not necessarily. I guess that's mostly because I've played against it enough already to know what I need to do against it, so I'm comfortable with it. But everybody's problem is Thalia. Everybody's problem is Thalia. But I think it's I think it's funny because Thalia has been a problem since she's been printed. It's just the fact that she's being seen more and more now. And that's how Magic and Magic players are. They don't see the problem when it happens, when it gets printed, when it's back in a format, until people start using it, and then they start seeing it and play over and over and over. Then it's a problem. Um, but if you kind of mentally prepared for Thalia to be a problem from jump when you saw her reprinted, then you already know. And especially if you played against her when she first was printed, I think during Innistrad, OG Innistrad, and yeah, I played against her during that time, and that time was backbreaking because we didn't have as much outlets for mana and extra mana with treasures and other mana doors. All we had back then, I think, was during Innistrad. I think we had Llanowar Elves. I can't remember if we had Mystic Elf, and then I think we might have got Sylvan Caryatid right there. So those like were our and they were all mono green. Those were green mana doors, you know. So nowadays we have treasures in almost every color, and the fact that we have treasures in almost every color um, allows us to get past the Thalia tax. And that's why personally I'm like, it's fine, it's whatever. Um, and then you can always, spot she doesn't have hexproof, so um so that's my thoughts with Thalia. And that's why a lot of people also were talking about why didn't she get banned. And honestly, Invoke and Mirror Breaker needed to be banned out of the 3. And if they took Bankbuster out and kept that in and got rid of Thalia or even Shieldred, I wouldn't. Those 3 are interchangeable for me personally. I wouldn't have cared. Um, so it is what it is. I'm probably willing to bet because they mentioned August 7th as the next banning, right before Eldraine Part 2 comes out. And I think we're going to see a banning of Thalia, and we're going to see a banning of Atraxa. Atraxa is still selling packs. It's still selling cards. It's still selling product, just like Meat Hook Massacre did. So they have no reason to ban it yet. They still want to get some more revenue out of the set. So I think Atraxa won't get banned until August 7th. And if she doesn't get banned there, which would be very surprising, then she's still in the format. But as for Thalia, I think that's where Thalia will get banned because now they're going to see Thalia come to fruition in Esper Legends and also in Blue White Soldier. She's played in both those decks. Now she's going to be the most played card in the format. So by August 7th, Thalia is probably going to go. The other card people were talking about were Shieldred and Rathine. Shieldred can easily be destroyed with Destroy Evil. There's ways to get rid of Shieldred, and we have a lot of life gain abilities in the format right now. So Shieldred doesn't need to be banned. She's good, but she doesn't need to be out. I think her power level decreased so much with the last couple sets that came out. When she was first dropped and Mono Black was the most popular deck, that's when she was just overpowered. Now, whenever I see a shoulder dropped, I'm not too worried about it. So, as for Rafine, the Ward 1 is more powerful than people give it credit for. With so much cheap removal and every piece of mana needed to make decks function and be consistent, Ward 1 can just break and win a game. It's ridiculous. Um, I think that is probably the worst part of Rafine. I get the drawing aspect and everything, but again, once they pick whatever they want to put the counters on, you can spot remove and just kill it. So I mean, there's ways around it. Just a matter of people wanting to work around it. Um, so the next deck, we kind of touched on it a little bit, was Blue White Soldier, and I've played against Blue White Soldiers a lot, and I've beaten it numerous times. Um, and one of the other cards that people want banned was Wandering Emperor, and this only plays a one of. So Wandering Emperor isn't necessarily a ban-worthy card. I don't think. Um, First of all, she's not seeing too much play. Period. She's not seeing a whole lot of play anymore. And she, for what she does, she's essentially a 4-drop removal, and then she gets killed. So it's not like Wandering Emperor isn't backbreaking unless you're getting -2 against her, and in that case, suck it up. Um, if I'm getting Invoked Despair, you can get Wandering Emperor, so whatever. That's how bluntly I'm going to put it. Blue White Soldiers, the downside to Blue White Soldiers, which they have Surge of Salvation for, and they also have the battle that can give them indestructible and everything, are board wipes. Now, the way to get around that is the new board wipe, which I don't remember what it's called, but it exiles all creatures, and then you incubate that many creatures. So that can get around this. So that'll be a better board wipe than depopulate. But the better one to get around soldiers is drag to the bottom. Drag to the bottom gets through indestructible. And for most players who've only been playing Magic for a few years, for some reason, will play Surge of Salvation, or they'll sacrifice their enchantment that flipped from the battle to give all their creatures indestructible, and then drag to the bottom kills everything. And then they look at drag to the bottom. You can see them highlighting the graveyard. The thing is, like, -X kills indestructible because you're reducing it to 0. You're not damaging it. And so that alone, a lot of players don't know that type of rule. And if you're an old head Magic player, like some of us are, you know the stack, you know the rules, and you know how interactions work. So I think drag to the bottom is probably one of the best board wipes in the format. You have to be playing a domain, but that's the drawback of it, or in my case, that is the benefit of it. So those are going to be the two top decks that are going to probably take over the format. There is a rogue deck. It's 5-color control. And oh wait, this is my deck. That's right. This is my deck. Yeah. Anyway, so this is my deck. This is 5-color control, and since I heard about the bannings, I made a couple of adjustments, real quick adjustments. Um, Mostly in the fact that I added an extra syncopate and I added another essence scatter. What else did I just do? Oh, and I added one more defabricate to the main board. These are all to the main board. And in the sideboard, I went ahead and removed both my disdainful strokes, or one of my disdainful strokes, since Invoke Despair is gone. That was most of the reason why I had disdainful stroke. And so I removed one of those, and I took out 2 March Otherworldly Light and 1 Tear Asunder. And that gave me spots to open up for 2 Urtai Resurrected and 2 Obscura Interceptors. So depending on what we're playing against, we can add some more counter into the deck, because this is like a hard control deck with very few creatures. The only creatures we're playing is 2 Atroxas and 2 Hidetsugu and Kairi. So we're only playing 4 creatures in the main, and there's a discard Reanimator deck out there right now with Rats and Ninjutsu and I believe it's mono black that I've been playing against. And so it's trying to reanimate and mill your deck and grab your creatures with it's a 4 and a black incubate something. I can't remember the name of it, but you can grab a creature from a graveyard, put it on the battlefield. So that deck is coming too. So the less creatures we play, the less targets they have. But the MVP of this deck, and probably the best card in March of the Machines, which is a sleeper, is Invasion of New Phyrexia. This card has won me so many games, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous how many games Invasion of New Phyrexia wins me. When you're on turn 5 and you put out 3/2/2 soldiers, they have to react to it because nobody else is playing board wipes. That mono black deck is the only deck that I've seen play. It was at instant speed. It was colorless and 2 black, and then token creatures get a -2/-2 until end of turn. So that board wipe, 100%. But I mean, I have counter magic for it, so whatever. But that's the only deck that has played board wipe. And Invasion New Phyrexia, on turn 7, turn 9, you're putting out 6 to 8 creatures on the board. And sure, they may have like 2 cut downs and 2 go for throats. Well, I still got 4 more creatures. What are you going to do? And then I've flipped Teferi. I can't even count how many times I flipped Teferi. Being able to -3 and tuck away a permanent of theirs. Being able to -2 and buff my creatures and give them ward. And then that emblem stacks. So they get ward 2, ward 3. Or being able to just draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. It's just really, really good. So Invasion New Phyrexia is definitely MVP of this deck. We are playing Domain, which is perfect for Leyline Binding and perfect for drag to the bottom. We are playing 2 Devious Cover-Ups in the main board, so we can bring back our counter spells and our Invasion New Phyrexias from the graveyard back into our deck and everything. So yeah, this deck is amazing. I love it. The win percentage on it, I think the last video I did about it was at 90%? I think it was at 90% win rate. The worst part about this deck has been the mana base, and it's mostly because I'm trying to figure out if 26 or 27 lands are good enough. And it's not that is it good enough for the deck? Is it good enough for arena RNG? That's what it is. It has nothing to do with the deck itself, or if I have enough lands to play anything, because I do. It's a matter of, did I add enough lands to where arena is going to screw me and I'm going to get mana screwed, or did I not add enough and then I'll get flooded? So the deck loses against arena RNG the majority of the time. Otherwise, it plays out, and it does very, very well. So yeah, that's what we have for bannings and what's coming for the future of Standard, in my opinion. And I'm excited to play again. I've been playing this entire season and everything, even with all this stuff in the format. So being able to play it without it is going to be even better. And as you saw in my deck, nothing in my deck got banned. So if I'm getting 70% win rate and above against these cards, and I'm not even using them, I think my deck will be performing a lot better now as well, because now I don't have to worry about specific cards. So yeah, I will be editing this video later and posting it up. I also made a video that should be posted up here pretty soon about the worst format, so check that out. And hopefully get some more game footage going for y'all. And yeah, so we'll see what happens in the future for Magic, in Standard mostly. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Peace.